Hi, welcome to TechRanch, a place where we learn and earn technical skills in the most efficient way. Let's make coding fun. Java coding exercise IP Finder. Today we are going to present you a live demonstration and implementation of IP Finder application using Java Swing Graphical User Interface API. Before we get into the demonstration and implementation, let's first see what is an IP address. IP address stands for Internet Protocol Address. It is an identifying number that is associated with a specific computer or computer network. For example, a postman has to deliver a mail to a particular address. A postman has to have a complete address, a city name, a street name, and PIN code, so that all components when come together become a complete address. Just like that, we have it in the computer networking is an IP address. With the help of an IP address, the Internet Protocol address, two devices can communicate to each other. So IP address allows computers to send and receive information. If you see a composition of an IP address, it is a 32-bit number which is uniquely identifies a host, or you can say a sender of a computer or other device such as printer or router or fax machine or telephone or VoIP, any device on a TCP IP network, a kind of an internet. These IP addresses are normally expressed in dotted decimal format with four numbers separated by periods, such as 192.168. So this is just an example how the IP address looks. It is different for every devices. Just like we have different addresses, you cannot have the same address with two houses. So this is what the application will look like, where we enter any address and this will give you an internal Internet Protocol address of that particular server. So what happened, basically these type of application was used when we test or we connect to a devices in some purpose, like connecting to a router, connecting to a printer or any other devices. Traditionally, we go to the command prompt and we ping. This is a command in the command prompt we use to test our connection from a device. For example, this is my device and here I am going to ping, P-I-N-G, Packet Internet Grouper. It's a command which is used to test whether the host is reachable or not, or to check for the testing. So here I'm giving a very common IP address. 127.0.0.1 is a local host, or you can write localhost too. If it's showing me like these type of output, you can see it says replying from localhost bytes 32. So it is sending and receiving. So this is how we can test any server. If I say localhost is nothing but your own computer, your own system. So it is connecting to itself. So it's saying yes, it is connecting. So it is working. So ping is basically test to any IP address. For example, you can even do Google, you see, or Yahoo or anything. So this is what the traditional way of working with the ping or IP address. So in general, like when we say ping me or text me, so this is what you just send me a message, I will reply you back. So this is how the ping work in the computer network. Now here, if you see, I have come up with an example or a particular user interface. I gave a particular user interface to test your computer to connect to other IP addresses. So this is how it will look. You have to enter the address or any name, system name, or any devices or any server name and search for IP. It will return you an IP in a message box. Now let's code on. This is my Eclipse IDE and I'm going to continue with a class here, and I'll give the name IP Finder app, and I need a main method for sure. But this is my class. First, frame. So for frame, creating a frame, I have to extend my JFrame class, and since we are going to have frame, we have to have the action performed implementation. So I'm going to implement action listener interface. You see, it's showing me error because I have not included my packaging. So let's include the package. And here we are going to override the action performed method. So everything is good. Now let's start the main. Inside that frame, if you see, we need to have the text field. So let's create the text field. We need a button. So let's have the B1 for submission and B2 for exit. J label, just for labeling to make it more user friendly. And let's implement the constructor. So label was need to set the bound, and this location will be at the top. Label has to be at the top of the window, so the coordinates goes like that. Now once this is done, just for the formalities and to make it more it's always a good practice to set all the parameters at the same time. So I am going to have the font size and style and looks, focus, and you see, make it more yeah, and the size will be 28. Around that size will work. Now my user interface is almost done. Now next what we need to do, we need to add some action listener to this buttons. What will action will be taken when user click on these buttons. Add the text box, add in the button, adding the label. You can call add button, add method in any sequence because the bounds, the coordinates is already set. So you don't have to make it in a sequence to add it in a frame. There is no sequence because we have already set the coordinates of that button location in a frame. And we have done the layout, and just make it, if you want you can set the title here. IP Finder by you see, set location relative to, it's not necessary, it's just an not mandatory. Now let's implement your main method is your action performed. So let's implement the action performed method. What we need to do here, first let's get the string for get action command, and inside that, if in case the string is equal to search IP, means if the user click the button search IP, what has to happen, what has to work? There we'll work on the try block where we'll return the URL. URL is for resource locator, uniform resource locator, and we'll for example I have entered google.com, so that will be stored in a URL string variable. And once this is done, then INET address will get by name, and URL will turn into string IP, and that will return from the host address. So we are pinging to the host address, and the address will be shown in a message box, message dialog box, where this and IP. And once this is done, if it is everything is correct, then let's implement the unknown exception, unknown host exception, because this is a networking profile, so we need to make sure we catch the appropriate exception. And if it is an error here or any issue, that will be mentioned in a message box. That can be handled here. For example, enter a valid URL or anything. It can be anything. Alert type, and will be J option pane. Yeah, pane dot warning message. So this will be your J option pane message box. Okay, this will be caps lock too. So you see, this will go like this, and the error is because of the exception type. Has to include the exception import net. So once this is done, next we need to compare and check with the else if user click to exit. So exit the program or repaint. So this is it. Your action performed is implemented. Now let's call it in the main method. So this is it. Okay. So let's take a look at the execution. So for example, I entered any random string and it says enter a valid URL. So this has catched the exception and went to the enter a valid URL alert box. And here I entered yahoomail.com, and this is give me the IP address of Yahoo Mail server. Any site, you can ask for any site, egreetings.com. It will go to the server, try to ping that and give me the IP address. So this is what the IP Finder application implemented in Swing Graphical User Interface API. So we have seen how we can ping and test the computer network and connect to other devices. Practice making IP Finder. What you can practice, you can have more features like data send and receive, like files transferring application, connect to any device which is in our network. For example, printer, fax machines, router, Wi-Fi, or any other devices around you. Used in many real-time applications. So IP Finder is very useful utility, a very basic useful utility, where you can use in testing the network applications, testing the server and client communication, office devices connection, chat application, and more importantly, you can find out in used where we have to work in GPS or geolocation, where you can check for the IP address and look and ping it and get the IP address of the device. So this is what the complete demonstration of IP address lookup or IP Finder. In case of any questions, queries, and source code needed, please contact techranch2019@gmail.com. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for more upcoming interesting and informative sessions. Let's make coding fun. Thank you.